Jimmy Nichols back for round two for the Great Inquisition. How you doing?
Great, man. Great. You been good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Remember from our last one, it was crazy.
yeah. That was wonderful.
You had some great questions.
It was overcome. We will adapt to whatever situation is thrown at us.
I've had a lot of calls from people who knew the band and knew the families, but they didn't really know the story.
Yeah.
They started playing and they were pretty overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, hey, it is what it is. It's
yeah. Yeah. So do we want to let's start with Columbus.
Yeah.
The Columbus scene that you were a part of before you left to Nashville.
Well, okay, so this is so fundamental to what happened with the Nichols brothers, but it's also really fundamental to the music scene in Columbus because I'll tell you, man, back in the day before disco hit, I'm not even sure if you know what disco is, but hopefully you do.
Yeah.
The disco scene hit Columbus in a really weird way. And from when my father entertained in the 50s and 60s, 70s, and then we started playing, and the way Columbus was set up was there was basically like 6 areas. There was downtown, but also campus. Even though campus was downtown, the campus scene was the kids. The downtown scene with the grown-up clubs like the Top and, where my father used to play, I'm trying the apartment lounge and those places. Those were older gentleman places, and they had piano bars and stuff like that. So you had that scene. You had the rock OSU scene with Stash and Little Brothers and the Agora and all these great little clubs that were right up High Street.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the quadrants, we called it, north, east, west, and south quadrants. So each of the quadrants had a Ramada Inn, a Holiday Inn, maybe a Best Western, I think. And they were all kind of similar, and they all had their own little musical scene, the west side, east side, north side, south side. Well, we were from Groveport. So the Nichols brothers dominated kind of the east side with a lot of the clubs. We were at the Cozy Corral of Reynoldsburg, and then I told you we started doing country clubs and stuff. But then we started also getting calls by clubs like Dirty Sally's, which is over on Bryce Road. It was this huge building that they cut into 2 places. There was a kind of a pop side and a countryside. The countryside was set up as, it was pretty damn redneck, and a lot of rednecks would go there, and a lot of the local country bands would play there. We weren't really considered a country band at the time, so we were doing Chicago, we were doing Blood, Sweat, and Tears, we were doing America, the Beach Boys and Bee Gees and the Beatles, and so they put us on the pop side. Well, the pop side was a smaller room, and we pack it every night. And we wanted to play the bigger room, the countryside, but the only way you can play the countryside is to do country music. And during that time of the 70s, we hadn't quite got there yet. Across the street, there was a Ramada Inn, and the bar over there was called Kelly's. And Kelly's was a pretty big thing for pop as well. They were our real competition on the east side. Man, I'm struggling. Maybe someone who's listening will remember. There was a band that played there that dominated that club for about 3 years. And they were a cover band, and they were a pop band, and they were good. And we drew a lot of respect for those guys. It's like the name of it's kind of on the tip of my tongue, but they were pretty popular over there. And it was like a competition with who's gonna have more people on the weekends, the Nichols brothers over there, or those guys over at Kelly's. And Kelly's had a great sound system as well. And all these quadrants, you would play the circuit. You'd play a few weeks on the east side, then you probably play the west side. The west side was a lot tougher. The west side, there was a lot of, I don't want to say rednecks, but a lot of really tough people, biker gangs, people. There was
like the Gods.
Well, the Gods would play downtown, but they'd play the west side, they'd play the north. They would play the Gods and Rosie. Those guys were actually they were kind of building themselves as like arena bands before they were arena bands, but because of their size and because of the people that were behind them, they had a lot of people behind them. And of course, it was a rock scene. Columbus was a big rock town, so they had a lot of support. And again, we were like, my brothers and I were kind of like, the guy walking around with the nice suit and he couldn't figure out what shoes he wanted to wear. It's like, I don't know if I want to dress up or wear these loafers or wear these boots, or they couldn't figure out where we belong because we played so much variety that we didn't pigeonhole ourselves in any one thing. Well, the downside of that was we also didn't really necessarily fit in any one particular place. So we would do all the quadrants. We do a lot of the north side, a lot of the east side. And let me tell you, man, live music back then was incredible. I mean, most clubs were packed every night, and people would come out and they wanted to hear live music, and they loved to hear live music. The dance floor was packed, and you were doing, like I said, the beat, the disco thing hadn't even kicked in yet. It was still, a lot of covers.
How much funk did you guys do?
Well, again, remember, we didn't have a guitar in the band.
Yeah.
So we didn't do, we did some Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
We did stuff like that, but we were doing harmony. Let me tell you what we were. Here's another way to put it. We were like, that channel on Sirius Deep Tracks?
No, but
there's a channel on Sirius on XM radio called Deep Tracks.
Okay.
Where, instead of just playing the hits, they would go deep into the record and play some of the more obscure things.
Yeah.
The Nichols brothers were the obscure things. We would get on stage and do shit that nobody would ever dream of doing live. Like, I'm talking like from the Bee Gees, like New York mining disaster, 1941.
Oh God.
Okay, so we're talking about ELO.
We're talking about like Bee Gees 1968.
Oh yes, before there was no disco scene. We're talking about songs like Fanny.
Yeah.
And we could do the falsettos. We'd be, she came on like the night.
Yeah.
And she held on tight. And the world was right when she made love to me. And we'd sing way up in our falsetto, and we could pull that shit off, man. And the harmonies, my brothers and our 4-part harmony was insane. So people wanted to hear that. So they didn't care that they didn't see a guitar. They didn't care that it wasn't this, it still was this full sound. But the harmony that we did, we worked on our harmony parts. They're exquisite and perfect, And so that's what they would come to hear, the really obscure things. And again, clubs pay money to BMI and ASCAP on a weekly basis or a monthly basis for bands to come and play music in clubs. It's been that way since the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
It's always been that way. And a lot of the people that come to see a band don't even know that. But clubs have to pay that license. So if you're paying that license, the last thing they want you to do is cover music, original music and obscure songs. They really want you to play the hits that they're paying for you to play. And so we would get up there and play all this obscure shit, and the owners didn't quite know what to do because they're like, what are you doing? New York mining disaster? We were playing songs like Cuddle Up by the Beach Boys. No one even heard of Cuddle Up, But the fans loved it because they would go there and they would hear shit they never got to hear anywhere else. In those days, every band in town, if you went to hear them, were playing Smoke on the Water. They were playing Listen to the Music. They were playing the same cover songs, and all it was a different band playing it. And some of them were good, some of them weren't, but it was the same songs. And
you have that everywhere across the United States.
Everywhere. Well, you did, but it
still it's like a
yeah. And they weren't going to get that with the Nichols brothers. Not only that, but we were funny. Dude, we would get up on shit. One night, I was 11 years old. I'm playing the Cozy Corral. It's a true story. There was a famous, you know how we got WWE, the wrestling thing now? Back then, it was called Big Time Wrestling. And there was a wrestler known as, God, what was this guy's name? He showed up at our bar. He showed up at the Cozy Corral. He was really well known back in the day. And I'll think of his name in a minute. he somehow moseyed into the bar. He was doing an event that week, and he was known as kind of being a bit of an alcoholic. He drank, and when he drank, it got ugly. And he was Polish.
Okay.
Now, back in those days, Polish jokes were very big, but we weren't very politically correct. Remember, I was only 11 years old. I shouldn't even have met on stage. Okay. Polish jokes weren't very politically correct, but they were worse if you called them Polak jokes.
Oh yeah.
Polish guy a Polak. That's like calling an Italian you're a what do they call us? A WAP, a Dago, a WAP or whatever. You didn't call him names. Okay.
Yeah.
His name was Buddy Austin.
Okay.
And his middle name was Killer.
Oh
Buddy
God.
Killer Austin. That was his name. And the guy was this huge Polish guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Buddy Killer Austin. I mean, I suppose my father maybe did, and the people around town. Well, he happened to be at our bar. And he's at the bar drinking. He's getting shit-faced. And I'm on stage, and we're having some kind of a technical problem. So Big Mouth Jimmy takes the microphone and says, well, and I had a high voice because my voice hadn't changed yet. Well, while we're trying to fix this problem, ladies and gentlemen, I got a pull-out joke for you. I didn't say Polish joke. I went, we got a pull-out joke for you. And I went to tell the joke, and who knows what the joke was. But from the back of the bar, Buddy yells out, hey, boy, I'm Polish. And I don't know why, but for some reason I said, that's okay, mister. I'll tell it slow.
Oh, good thing you were cute.
Dude, it didn't matter how cute I was. He made a rush for the stage. He starts yelling, up yo, Giggy, I'm going to kill you. And he starts running towards the stage, and people are trying to stop him, and he's throwing people, and glasses are flying. The place is getting destroyed. They grabbed me off the stage because I'm not really supposed to be in a bar at that age.
Yeah.
We didn't want the cops to come and shut the place down. So they grabbed me off the stage. My brothers and I had run out. My mom gets us out. The place is getting destroyed. The cops come. They arrest him. And the place gets shut down. And all because stupid little Jimmy didn't know how to shut his mouth.
Yeah.
So, that became known as
like your own hard day's night.
Oh, dude, it was insanity. And it was, but see, we didn't know. We were just having fun every night. Yeah. So people started coming to see us because they never knew from one night to the next what was Jimmy or Joey or Freddie going to do this night. So, and so we played it up. We didn't write to a script. We just would, whatever came up, we would pick on people and, we would have fun. I'd break into Rodney Dangerfield and people would laugh. And so people started coming to see us almost as much for the comedy as they were for the music, and so that elevated us. And again, I had to stay in Columbus during those times because I was still going to school.
Yeah.
Now, here's another really cool thing that happened during that time. Have you ever heard about, I'll bet you didn't know about this thing, but in Groveport, there was a few other kids that were pretty much in the music. The family, their Kimmel family, Kimmle, Mike and Steve Kimmel, and I think there was a couple other Kimmels. They were into music as well, but they were in the rock side of things. But they knew my brothers. My brothers were pretty popular in school. So I think it was Mike, one. He actually contacted my brothers. They wanted to start up something called the Columbus Songwriters Association.
Okay.
You ever heard about this?
No.
Well, it was a group of guys that were trying to increase the Columbus music presence around the country. Mm-hmm. And so they would get and hold and sponsor these concerts around town at the bigger areas and bigger clubs, the Agora, I don't think we ever got as big as St. John's, but the bigger clubs around, you couldn't do it at a little club because so many people showed up. It grew. The Desert Inn had a big room, and we'd do the Desert Inn. And what they would do, and I just want you to picture this in your mind. We didn't have like massive PA systems back then. Okay. Remember that the Beatles in '65 did the Shea Stadium concert with bullhorns.
Yes.
There was no PA system yet. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't until like Led Zeppelin in '68, '69 where people started putting and Woodstock. Okay. Yeah. Well, in Columbus, we were still behind the times. But we figured that if all the bands showed up and brought all their speakers, we could just pile all of our speakers from all the different bands onto these risers and add the amplifiers and combine them, and we create these massive PA systems in these clubs, and somebody knew what they were doing. I don't know. I know we blew up a lot of speakers and a lot of amps because we were trying to do something that technically hadn't really been done. But it was a gathering of all the big bands in the time and getting to hear originals for the first time and sponsor some of the bands that were doing originals.
Who are some of these bands?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I cannot name you a band. I cannot tell you a band. I would love for the listeners to maybe try to reconcile. I tried to get a hold of one of the Kimmels to see if they could help me get some names of these bands, because what it was a lot of it was a great excuse for a lot of guys to get together and smoke pot. Because the only time you can really get away with that would be in a venue like this. Cops never harassed us. They would show up. It was kind of a private thing. And so all the musicians would show up and they'd bring their pot and they'd smoke grass and they'd get on stage and rock the place. And it was loud and it was long. It would go on till, the wee hours of the morning. And again, the brothers would play there, but we were the exception to the rule. But they liked that we were the exception to the rule. They liked that we weren't the rock sound alike. They liked that we were doing horn songs when nobody was really doing horn songs, and they liked the harmonies. And so we were the misfits that they liked anyway. And somehow we did it every time. We got to be one of the regulars. And we didn't do drugs. So none of the band did any drugs. So I remember this guy comes up at one of the shows, and it was at the Desert Inn. And at the Desert Inn, they had this big glass window in front, and they had like a trough with not dirt, but it's kind of like dirt where they would plant stuff. And it was this long thing right in front of the entrance to the restaurant. And this guy comes up to me and he's stoned out of his brain. And we're on break, and he goes, "Hey, dude, you know where I could score some, little weed, man?" And I'm like, "Dude, I don't smoke." And I looked over and I saw that trough. And I don't know why, but something sick in me went, "Hey, man, give me a second. I think I could probably find you one." And my brother Freddie was with me. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I got to have some fun with this guy. He's so shit-faced, he's never going to know the difference." So I went and got a piece of paper from where the desk was where they were checking people in, just regular notebook paper. And I ripped a piece off and went into that thing and just pulled some of that wood filler stuff, put it in this piece of, notebook paper, rolled it up, licked it, and twisted it, and made it look like a joint. The guy comes back around and said, "Dude, check it out, man." He goes, "Man, I will remember you forever. You are the man." I'm going, "Yeah, you're going to remember me forever in about 5 seconds." And I watched him. We walk outside, and he lifts this thing up, and it lights, and then it catches fire.
Yeah.
And now it's burning his nose. Yeah. And this poor guy's running down the hallway of the Desert Inn trying to put his nose out.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I mean, it seemed cruel, but at the time it was a practical joke and it was pretty freaking funny. And my brothers were going,
Did you ever get in trouble for any of this?
No, dude, no one ever. Are you kidding? It was like
you're always the cute one.
I was the troublemaker, but I was the cute one. I mean, back then I had hair. I looked like Dottie Osmond. They thought, I got away with murder, but I was a bit of a troublemaker. But I thought to myself, he's never going to smoke pot again after this, probably.
But
that's what the Club of Songwriters Association thing was really cool.
That won't stop them.
It opened up a lot of doors. I hope people reach out to you and can reconnect about that, because those guys, the Kimmel brothers, did a lot of good for that. And even as we transitioned on, I think that thing went on for quite a while. They'd have flyers and they'd have meetings. A lot of people joined. And I think it opened up a lot of doors, including, I could be wrong about this, I think it even helped out groups like McGuffey Lane to get contacts that landed deals in Nashville, because McGuffey Lane, eventually there were some managers in Columbus that moved them down here. Aldridge, Walt Aldridge.
John.
No, what was his name? Not John. No. Cliff Aldridge.
Okay, got it.
Cliff Aldridge. he ended up working for Sony and was really instrumental with McGuffey Lane back in those days. And so and a couple other partners ended up. Dwight Wiles, he was the guy, one of their managers. And I think some of that came out of that songwriters thing. So that was a cool part of the Columbus scene. All of that, I think really helped bands, and it helped us, and it got us to a bigger audience, and it got us where we were kind of on a concert stage as opposed to just a band stage.
Yeah.
They'd bring lights and
or just no stage at all, just the floor.
No, dude, it was staging.
Yeah, I know that.
They were just, right, or just the floor and some of the, that's
yeah.
Like in the country clubs, you're barely lucky you got anything.
Yeah, because a lot of the places, and maybe not in Columbus, but across, you're the afterthought.
Oh, dude, most of the clubs, that's so funny you say that, but you're 100% right. Most of the clubs, they built these rooms and they put the bar in, they put all this in, and it's like at the last minute, someone must have said, oh shit, where are we going to put the band? Put them in the corner over there. It's like, corner? That's the worst place you could put a band, Yeah. So, dude, we always felt like the misfits. Yeah. And some of the clubs thought it out, some of the clubs I was describing, like even I was telling you about Kelly's, that big bar in Reynoldsburg, dude, it was a pretty big room, but there was a lot of dividers in the room, but people could gather on these tables, and there was a pretty big dance floor. The bar was behind the stage was behind the bar. So imagine a big long bar, and then about 6 feet above the ground was this rather not deep, but long stage.
Okay.
Behind the bartenders. That's where the band played.
Okay.
Talk about, thinking about it at the last minute. Someone must have literally just forgot completely, just somehow built it up behind the bar. And then they did put in these massive, I don't know where these speakers came from, but they were serious speakers.
Yeah.
And that sound system at Kelly's was pretty intense. I mean, someone put some money into it. But the stage, at some point, the brothers actually got to play Kelly's, and I was really underwhelmed by how you could barely fit on that stage. I mean, if you had a big keyboard rig, you were half off the stage. Forget if you had a B3. I don't know how you ever got it on the stage, because the stage.
Did you have a B3?
Not in those days. Matter of fact, that's another story. At some point, I didn't play my first B3 until I moved to Nashville, and I played on a BJ Thomas record. And I was at Quad Studios, and the producer asked me, he said, I think I want to put a little B3 on this. And I had been playing at that point, so 72, 82, 92, over 30 years.
Yeah.
I never touched a B3. Never. I didn't even know you started a B3. I didn't know a B3 had like an engine, like you start it, have to hold the key. I didn't know anything because I never owned it.
That's also an instrument I would not personally take on the road.
Well, I wouldn't either after I got one.
Yeah. That thing that's a piece of furniture.
It's incredible. Now, do you remember the Yamaha CP70s, the electric piano, Yamaha electric piano? Yeah. Well, those were heavy too. Yeah. It took 4 guys to move one of those. I had one of those. So, but that's because I was raised as a pianist. Some guys are raised as organists. A good friend of mine in Columbus, Tony Monaco, he grew up playing organs, and he's a jazz organist. That's his instrument, the B3, the Leslie, and he's really great at it. I never touched a B3.
Yeah.
I had simulators, and I mostly played the piano. And, it's a whole nother art form, to be honest with you. And I never gave it a second thought. When I moved to town, I knew a lot of the guys that were doing sessions owned them. But at the time, most of the studios had them. And I just didn't see the point. I had a pretty great studio rig that I used. It was all in cartage. And then I got this call that one day. I was on the BJ Thomas record, and he said, I want to put B3. And I said, oh, yeah, sure. No problems. And I'm standing over there going, how do you turn this freaking thing on? And I got one of the seconds over there, and he's like, you never turned one? I said, don't say anything, He said, no, I'll help you out. So he showed me how to turn it on. And I just started pulling out drawbars until it sounded good, and played on the record. And it came out great. Well, after that, my wife and I sat down. I said, honey, I better get one. if I don't have one, I can't afford to lose a session day because I don't have my own B3.
Yeah.
So I
It's
put
also cool though. That's the other part of this.
what?
It's also a cool instrument.
Well, yeah, but like you said, dude, if I didn't have cartage, I would have never been able to move that thing
Yeah,
around
yeah.
because
Well, I'd imagine a lot of studios would have one. Wouldn't they have it?
a lot of them did, but it was amazing back in when I started playing in sessions how many didn't. And I was doing a lot of demos, but my demos were demos for artists. They weren't just songwriting demos. I was doing demos for artists that had deals, and a lot of times the demo would turn out to be the record. And so if you didn't cut it great, someone would go in and either replace you or they fix the part and you wouldn't get the credit. Well, I wanted the credit. So I actually started perusing eBay and stuff, trying to find a B3 that was a good price. And of all the places, I found a B3 for $3,500 with a 122 Leslie. It was a 1973, and the owner lived in Columbus. And I couldn't believe it. So I called this guy up. His name escapes me right now, but he was in a competing band with the brothers. He remembered my brothers. They were like the new Dementia. I can't remember the name of the band, but they were like the competition for the Nichols brothers, and they played a lot of the same clubs we played. Yeah. And he knew who we were. He knew who I was. And when he told me about the B3, he's like, "I'm the only owner." Blah blah blah. I said, "Well, what do you want for it?" He goes, "Dude, I'll tell you what, man. I'll bring it to you personally. I'll deliver it to you if you'll take me to a recording session and let me see what you do." I'm like, dude, are you kidding? It's a no-brainer, you know. Yeah. I said, "Come on down," you know. So he delivered the B3 to me for like $3,000 with the 122, and that's the same one that's sitting over here I've had for all these years. Okay. And so it now down here, when you have a rig and you do sessions, we have something called cartage companies. The cartage companies will pick up your gear, they'll deliver it to the studio, set it up for you. When you're done, you call them up and say, "I'm done." They'll take it down and they'll take it back to storage and they'll store it for you. And for 20 some years, that's the way it was with me. I had 25 years, I had all my stuff in cartage.
You said that was when budgets started getting cut, that was the first thing to go.
One of the first things that went. So now a lot of us have our rigs here. Some of them still keep stuff in cartage. But like I said before, I'm not going to pay someone just to store my stuff when I can use it in the studio every day. Yeah. But the B3 is one of them, and it's a boat anchor, but nothing like it. But it belonged to a Columbus, Ohio native. Go figure.
So constantly learning.
Constantly. Well, look, that's another great point. In the studio, every day is a learning thing. If you're doing it right, nobody knows it all. I mean, every session, something's going to happen. Something unique is going to go on. A guy asked me today, he said, "Do you transpose when you play piano?" I'm like, "Hell no." It's like, "Really?" He's like, "You got to transpose, bud." I said, "Not on a real grand, you know."
Yeah.
I said, "What happens if I sit down at a real grand and it's an F sharp and they want me to rock it? I can't fake it. You better be able to play it." So I force myself. I will not transpose. I just want it. So, and you're stuck in a situation where you got to play boogie woogie. I'll tell you, I'm not a great boogie woogie guy. That's not really my forte. I can do it, but my left hand kind of blows. It's not very good. My right hand's great. Yeah. My left hand's, I used to have to play bass with my left hand before my brother learned how to play bass. Yeah. So my left hand got lazy. So, boogie woogie is not my thing, but like I said, I can do it. I've done it on a bunch of records, but if someone called me up and said, "Hey, I got this huge boogie woogie thing, you're going to be the feature guy," I'd probably go, "Well, you might want to call so-and-so. He's better at that than me."
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, if it's an Elton John thing or something, that's down my alley. I'll do that all day long.
You're like piano, like mostly piano, would you say? And then strings and then
man, piano, whirly road strings, I could do some programming. I've done a lot of programming during my day. Back in the day when we had synthesizers and didn't have samplers, I had to program. I had to figure out how to make sounds. These days, I do a lot of stuff with like Omnisphere, and the whole contact line and massive and different things. And you got to be able to go into those programs and get around them. And the thing about Nashville is you got to do it fast. You don't have but maybe 10 15 minutes.
To get the
Here,
right.
this will blow you. This will blow your mind. I don't know if you remember a show that was on for a little while, the Singing Bee television show. It was on network, I think NBC, for a few years. It was a show where the audience participation was they would do parts of songs, and the participants had to finish the song. So they might play a song. It might be a George Strait song, and it might be like I lost my, and then they'd stop it. You'd have to go heart. You'd have to finish the song, or it'd be imagine there's no heaven. Okay, so anyway, well, there was a band in the show, like a 7-piece band. It was hosted by a dear friend of mine, who's Steve Dorff, who's written some of the biggest songs on the planet. Steve's one of the Hall of Fame songwriters in the country. Anyway, he was the musical arranger guy. Well, people didn't know this, but that band wasn't playing that music. It was me and a few other studio guys going to the studio the week before.
Yeah.
We would cut.
They were just lip syncing.
They were lip syncing. Yeah. Well, it's the only way you could pull it off, because here's the deal. On some of the songs, there was this thing. I'm trying to remember what they called it, but there was a thing where the song, they would play like a whole verse and chorus. Okay. And here's what would happen. Pick me a song. Just call a song. Something.
Something by the Beatles.
Okay. Here's the way it would go. This is the way we had to record it. So it would go, we do boo da 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 ba ba, something in the way she moves. Then all of a sudden it'd be like, stop. The participant would have to finish the next line. Attracts me like no other lover. They go, great. The band would pick back up, something in the way she, and then it'd stop at random places. And the contestant had to fill in the words. Well, you could never pull that off live.
Yeah.
Think about it. How would you stop the whole band and then count them back in, and they'd know exactly where to be? So we'd recorded all that stuff beforehand, and the bands faked it.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. We would record those bits in the studio. In one day, we would record over 250 songs.
Wow.
Think about that. You would go from cutting a piece of a U2 song, with or without you. They'd play you this much. With or without you. Okay, stop. All right, find the sounds. We're recording in 30 seconds. 1, 2. You got 30 seconds. The guitar player, the acoustic player, myself as a keyboard player has to dial up a pad, or has to find a horn sound, or have to go to the piano. The bass player has to find, the drummer has to decide, is it brushes or is it a loop? And you'd have to program. You got like 30 seconds, and then, okay, 1, 2, and they record it, and that's it. And they move on to the next piece. You have 6 or 7 days, triple sessions, and you'd record sometimes from 180 to 250 songs in one day.
Boy, what an experience, though.
It was a great experience. But, dude, if you couldn't program, if you couldn't find sounds, I have racks full of gear with sounds that were kind of ready to go. My horn patch was over here, and my pads were over here, and because I'd have to be able to grab them quick. Dude, you'd walk out of there after 7 days and your mind would be like silly buddy.
Yeah, rubber, yeah.
But it prepared you for anything. If we can get through that.
Learn to adapt.
Yes. Oh, yeah, dude, you better work quick, and you better be on top of your game.
Yeah.
Those days are, see, again,
it was all Nashville charts too, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. The guy that did the charts, he would send iTunes files to the guy who was the copyist. And what the guy with the copyist would do is the iTunes files would be with or without you. And if it was the song where they played the whole song, he would send the bits, how long the bit would be, and then you'd have the pause, and then the next bit, and he would send them in sections. So it'd be like with or without you 1, with or without you 2, with or without you 3, with or without you 4. Well, one day he put them in the wrong order. One day he started at the bottom with 1, and the last clip was the first piece. Well, the copyist didn't know. So he just ran a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. So they hand us the charts, and the musicians are listening to the playback, and the chart isn't making any sense. And we're like, we got a problem. And they're trying to, what's going on? And then someone finally went, oh my God, they're backwards. So we had to read the chart from the bottom right up the chart to the top left.
Wow. It's like dyslexic.
And we did it. And we did it in one take.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy. We still talk about that one to this day. But you just have to be prepared for anything. And you can't bellyache about it, you know.
Yeah.
Those were the greatest.
Can you show us a Nashville chart?
Yeah, sure. So this is a chart. This is actually a chart that I did for a tune called I Surrender All. It's a classic Christian song. You know, oh, to Jesus, I surrender. Now, can you see the numbers?
Yep.
Okay, so basically what the chart is it's based, because think about do, re, mi.
Mm-hmm.
Do, re, mi, no matter what key you're in, do, re, mi is do, re, mi. So if you're in the key of G, it's another tequila sunrise. If you're playing a G and you're doing tequila sunrise, it's another tequila sunrise. There's softly across the sky, days gone by. The first chord is G.
Yeah.
Okay. Do, re, mi is do, re, mi no matter what key you're in. So if you're in the key of G, do, re, mi would be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Yeah.
If you're in the key of C, it would be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But the bottom line is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do is do, re, mi no matter what key you're in.
Yeah.
So what the number system does is it takes do, re, mi and assigns it a number.
Yeah.
So if you see a 1, it's do.
Yep.
If you see, what is this here? A 1/3. That means the chord is do, the bass note plays mi.
What's that 6/3?
Okay, 6, where's that at? 6/3.
Is that what I'm looking at?
There's a right here.
What?
I'm sorry. At the top here.
That's 1/3.
Well, it's a 1/3. It's
Okay.
not 1/3. So that first line would read, if you can see it, it would read 1/3, 4.
3 in the bass.
4. A 3 in the bass. That's exactly right. So if the key is in F, it says F here.
Yeah.
So that would be an F. That would be an F.
Yeah.
The next chord would be an F over A.
Yep.
Because do, re, mi, F, G, A. Okay.
Yep.
The next chord would be a 4. So F, G, A, B flat.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a B flat and another B flat. So the intro of this song would be F, F over A, B flat, B flat.
Yeah.
Now, the beauty of the Nashville system is that's a roadmap. That tells you that if your tempo is this, 2, 3, 4, by itself, it gets all 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, do the 1/3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4. So it'd be B flat, 3, 4, and another 4, 2, 3. Then you start the song. All to big F Jesus. That'd be a 5. So that'd be a C.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you see split bars like this and it's underlined, that means that bar gets shared between those figures. It looks like a 1/3,
4, 1/3.
Right. So you got a F over A, B flat, F over A to a C.
Okay.
Okay. So, but the beauty of the number system is that you get this roadmap, so you know where you got to play, and it's in 4-bar phrases, so you always know where you're at. But it doesn't tell you, okay, for you to get from that A to that B flat, you got to use these notes. You can use your imagination about how you want to transition from one section to the other.
So what it requires of you, to comp and be creative with your chords and
more importantly, what?
To improvise.
Listen to the other guys.
Yes.
Because the other guys are going to be doing the same thing that you're doing, and they're going to be finding their way through how they want to transition. If you're in the key of F and you're playing in what they call first position or first uh, uh, interval, which means your F is on the bottom,
Yep.
then you're naturally going to want to play the B flat chord where the F is still on the bottom, and B flat and then D. Well, what's the guitar player doing? Is he going to be harmonizing with you? Is he going to be up and out of your range? Are you going to be playing the same exact chord, which means you're kind of occupying the same space?
Mhm.
Is he glissing or is he arpeggiating? Can you get away with playing just a?
So what you're telling me is they don't write this out.
That's exactly right. See, when you read a chart that some guy in LA wrote, and he wrote all the numbers for all the musicians, well, that's his arrangement. So when you sit down, yeah, you're playing it and you read the numbers, read the notation, and that's all wonderful. But you're not playing your idea.
Yeah.
Nothing of this is from your heart. This is from some guy who wrote this. That's his vision.
Yeah.
But the number system lets you play your version.
Yes.
And it just gives you a roadmap. It's like saying, I want you to go to Zanesville tonight and then find your way to Portsmouth. But how you want to get there is totally up to you. Just get there. You know? And that's where the magic of the number system is.
The other thing about this numbering system is you have singers. Nashville's a singer's town.
Well, that's funny you say that. The number system was originated by the singers. The legendary quartet that backed Elvis up.
Jordanaires.
The Jordanaires created the number system because they were so busy in those days doing sessions, they didn't have time to sit and learn the songs. There was no time for them to sit out and go, okay, well, let's work. Let's you do the. So they would write the numbers instead of representing the chords. They represented the position in the chord.
So each guy got a different note to sing.
That's exactly right. So if you're doing a four-part chord where, like it's in the key of F, then the low guy saying the low F and the high guy saying the high F, it would basically be 1, 3, 5, and either 1 at the top, or sometimes they use an 8. They literally make it an 8. It's mostly 7. You rarely see an 8 on a chord chart, because an 8 is basically the first chord. But in the number system days, they probably did.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they might have even used 9s. Sometimes you'll see a 1-9 chord, which would basically be, if you're in the key of C, it would be a C9. So
okay.
C with the D on the top. Or you
add 9.
An add 9. That's exactly right. But it would look like a 1 with a 9.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if there's an example of that on any of these. These are pretty.
You see a 1 to 4. Could I put an add 9 on the 4?
Yeah.
Without asking?
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, that's another thing. That's where the listening comes in.
Yeah.
So if you're voicing a thing and you hear the guitar player playing maybe like a minor or a major 7, you may go, a 9 on this might be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Or you listen to the vocalist, and the vocalist is maybe implying an open 2 or an open 9 or something. And you may go, I don't need to play this plain old F chord. I could add a 9 or add, that's the beauty of it, man, is it lets you use your mind and the things that you learned from the years of playing music and apply them to this roadmap. So
almost what I love about this is this system that you've gotten into makes sense out of all the, I would say, the university of the bar. Or the university. Hard Knock University.
Well, here's the greatest benefit. The greatest benefit of this is if you walk into a session, and let's say I'm recording Rod, Rod's coming into town, and these are the 5 charts. And then you get to the session and you're like, dude, I really made a mistake. I didn't think about my voice getting worn out. I need to drop these songs from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a singer's town. They can transpose it to anything that fits.
Right. We don't have to rewrite the chart.
Right.
All you got to do is say, guys, it's not an F, it's an E flat.
Yeah.
The chart stays.
Yes.
In the old days, if they did it, and even if it was in chords, like a chorded chart, someone would have to rewrite that chart because few people could cite transpose.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd have to have someone go back, rewrite the chart in F, rewrite the chart in E flat, whatever.
Yeah.
Not the number system, baby.
So
hey, change it to F, and then we just cut it. That's how we were able to do so many songs.
Yeah.
Like that singing.
So tell our listeners, you were talking about what you were doing with was it 400 songs in the last week, how busy you can get, like.
Oh, well, again, so most of the recording sessions in Nashville, if it's a demo thing like this week, today I was at a studio up in Clarksville. We cut 12 songs. We started at 10. We finished. The band was so efficient that most of the tracks were one take. So we cut all 12 songs with a lunch break, and we were done by 3:30. So you take about an hour and a half off for lunch. That's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So in 4 hours, we cut 12 songs. That's 6 hours, 6 songs every 2 hours, 3 songs every hour. That's a song every 20 minutes. And again, that's without ever hearing the song before.
Yeah.
You never hear the song. They play the tape. You sit down at your thing. You make your changes. Someone will call off the chart. They'll read this. Like this may not have been the original intro to this song, but I'll go, okay, guys, let's take the first line of the first verse and let's copy it and make it the intro. So I would read that out. I would say, okay, guys, let's do a 1, 7 flat over 1, 4 over 1, 1, 7 flat over 1, 4 over 1, 1. Write that in. That's your first line. And then let's say you got down to the bottom and there was a diamond. Let's say, you're playing and the song has it's like a straight ahead, just a straight ahead thing where you just that kind of, if you got a diamond, that's where you take a bar. It's a whole bar, but you don't play it. You just go 3, 4. Okay, so you start the song. So you're going, okay, the guitar, the players playing the song and the musicians charting it. You're going, that's a 1, that's a 5, that's a 2 minor, that's a 5.
Yeah.
When you get to that diamond, when I hear that, I call that a diamond. So I would rate that as a 5 diamond.
All right.
Let's say if I went stop, I call that a Dorito chip.
Okay.
Which is like a diamond, except it's cut off.
Yeah.
Sometimes we call it a cubic zirconium.
Okay.
Anyway, but it's a Dorito chip because it looks like a chip, like a triangle.
Uh-huh.
So if I sat down and I went, and that was the intro, then I would go to the band and say, guys, the intro is 1525 diamond, or 1525 Dorito chip. And they would write 1, 5, 2 minor, and I call it 2 minor, 5 Dorito chip.
Uh-huh.
And they would write it 1, 5, write a 2 minor, a 5, and do a little Dorito chip. And they'd sit down in their place and you cut it off, and that's what they would play.
Yeah.
They might play it in their own interval. They might take the capo off and play it open, whatever. And the keyboard player might play different voices, whatever they want to do. It's totally up to them, but that's the chart. Okay.
Yeah.
So the nomenclature, your diamonds, your DSs, your codas, your they're all the same.
That carries over.
It carries over from notation. So none of that changes. But that's it, So you can chart a song literally as quick as you can play a song. One of us can chart that song and literally be in place to play it in 5 minutes. And we can have a song cut. Well, we did today. It's a great example.
Yeah.
So today I did 12. Tomorrow I'll cut 17 because I've got a double session in the morning and the afternoon. We'll cut 12 more songs.
Yeah.
Cut 6 in the morning, take a break, cut 6 in the afternoon. I got to immediately get up in my car to make it into the middle of Nashville to go to another studio to cut probably 5 more, 6 more. So tomorrow I'll cut almost 17 or 18 songs. Then the next day I go back to the studio I was at in the morning and cut another 12.
Okay.
So in 3 days' time this week, I will have cut almost 40 songs. And back in the day, that was nothing. Sometimes there were days when I had 6 sessions. I would wake up in the morning, show up at a studio at 8 o'clock to do a piano overdub till 10, show up at 10 to 1 to do 5 songs, my lunch break, I would just grab a sandwich, go to a studio and do an overdub, get one song till 2:00, go to another studio, cut 5 more songs, do another overdub at 5, and then at 6:00, do another demo session, cut 5 more. We do 20 songs a day. And I mean, we were doing sessions like that all week. So in a week's time, we were cutting 50, 60, 75 songs a week.
Very quickly, you realize that learning to adapt and learning to listen, these are your essential skills. Learning to adapt and supplying what is not there, but your artistry can make it, bring it out.
Well, that's exactly right. The mindset is, we call it honor thy song. In other words, It's never about our ego. It's about the song. What's going to make the song the best? Is this song better if I literally go to the producer and say, you know, man, this is more bluegrassy, or we call it a wire choir thing, where it's the guitars and maybe there's no piano.
Love wire choir.
Yeah, wire choir. You know, maybe why don't I just play a B3 pad, and that's all that you get for the keyboards. And they usually trust your input, and they'll go, dude, if that's what you think it takes. Or I'll say, you know, man, maybe I'll play a Wurlitzer and just kind of play it like a, you know, because the Wurlitzer kind of takes on the timbre of an electric guitar.
Yeah.
And you can, especially if you overdrive it a little bit, and you can kind of counter the electric guitar by playing the whirly, very staccato without the pedal, you know, and get really percussive with it. And you have to go, but that's all this track needs from me. Because if I add anything more to this song, I'm actually taking something away from this song.
Yeah.
You know, the saying is, sometimes the most important thing you play is the thing you don't.
Yes.
And so we learned that.
Not everything has to be Bohemian Rhapsody.
Absolutely not. Not everything needs to have everybody piled on it.
Yeah.
You know? And
Listening, it's adapting, it's, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know, I might just sit down, and I've done this on many songs. All I'll do is, on like a chorus, play a 1-note line, like down, 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 2 and 3 and 4, 6 minor, down, 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 and maybe 1 note with a little delay on the piano, and that's all I play. I did that a lot on the Carrie Underwood stuff. Sometimes it was a very simple line, and that's all you heard on the piano.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we cut Something in the Water. Something in the Water was mostly guitar, until there's a part in the song where it breaks down and it goes, now I'm stronger. And all it is the piano going, something in the bottom, then the band comes in. That's all the piano played in that song.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to play through the rest of the song.
Let's remind our people, you're doing sessions for Carrie Underwood. You're on most of her, all but the first album.
All but the first album.
Yeah. And then we have Tim McGraw, we have Reba McEntire, we have Faith Hill.
I did a bunch of Reba stuff, movies, TV,
all the
albums,
these skills we're talking about. That is what was required to be that kind of musician.
Well, that's what got me in the door. You know, my ability to come up with parts and ideas, along with my ability that I had a struggle with when I first moved to town to really learn how to play in the pocket. I was used to playing with my brothers, and we didn't play to a click track. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm in Nashville with guys like Paul Lime and Eddie Bears and Lonnie Wilson and, you know, Chris McHugh. These are the greatest musicians on the planet, and their pocket is insane. And I was struggling because I wasn't used to playing to a click. And each one of those drummers, even with a click track, has a different vibe, a different pocket feel, a different essence to their groove. And you got to adapt, and you got to adapt on the fly. And let's not forget, my seat, the piano, is the only seat in the band of all the musicians. Every time we sit down, we're sitting down at a different instrument that we don't own. Think about it. I mean, every studio's got a grand piano, and it ain't ours. And they're all different. And they all feel different. They all voice different. They all have a different key throw. They all have a different pedal damper throw. They all have a different voicing and a brightness. And you got to be able to sit down and instantaneously adapt how you play to that room and to that artist the other ones bring their instruments. They know their instruments. They don't have to do that.
Mhm.
So not only do we have to adapt to the musician, we have to adapt to the instrument and the artist at the same time. So man, the keyboard scene is brutal.
Yeah. So you were telling me like there's like 2,000 people in the music union, 2,000 whatever,
25 or 2,600.
2,600 in the in the union, national union.
Yeah.
Now, of those, roughly 10% are regular musicians in the studio.
Yeah. Are guys that literally make their income doing sessions of some sort full time.
Yeah, it's about comes down to all the stuff in Nashville comes to like 200 people through 200 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then of those, that's everybody. That's pedal steels, fiddle, guitar players, bass players, drummers, and keyboard players.
Guys, yeah, harmonica guys,
Yeah.
utility players, yeah. And out of those guys, the ones that really play on the records a lot is an even smaller number, you know. And you know, during that period from the 94, 95 up to 2012, you know, it was hard. It was hard pressed to find a record I wasn't on at some point. Now, the last 8 years or so, because I was out touring, see a lot between touring and running a record label, a lot of guys thought I stopped playing because I was running the record label and I was gone.
What record label was this?
My wife and I started a label in Nashville called Black River.
Okay.
Black River, at the time, was entertainment. It was my wife and I and the couple that owned the Buffalo Bills. Well, they didn't own them at the time, but they do now. Terry and Kim Pagula.
Okay.
They were the guys responsible for moving my band to Nashville back in the 90s, and they were dear friends. And at one point, we had an artist that we were trying to help, and that artist left me high and dry with a humongous recording bill that she was supposed to get paid and did not. And I was responsible because I was the producer. So I got a hold of the Pagulas and met with them. I said, you know, here's the situation, but this artist should be able to recoup if you want to do it. And so they sat down, we talked about it, we met with the artist. They decided at the last minute, well, we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket because we don't feel good about the artist, but we'd be willing to start a record label and sign other artists and maybe do this up on a bigger level.
Yeah.
So I was all into that because it was something at that time I was about ready to transition over into. So Black River was born. We signed 3 different artists and some great artists. And we ran the label for 4 years. And then they ended up signing a girl named Kelsey Ballerini. And Kelsey is kind of the claim to fame. Kelsey ended up becoming she's like probably the biggest name.
That's small world stuff. I do music and wellness for special needs communities. And one of my girls, I say girl, she's in her mid-20s. Her favorite artist of all time is Kelsey.
That is a small world. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Hates rock and roll, but she likes Queen.
Well, it's funny too, because, you know, at the time, you know, when Kelsey got signed, we were just basically leaving. I didn't know anything about her. There were some people within the label, the upper management people that had heard about her. Yeah. And her family was into religion and stuff. I think they owned, I can't remember what they did. They owned Bibles or something. Okay. Anyway, and the Pagulas, who ended up becoming the CEO of the label, was really into that Christian scene and stuff. So I think he wanted a partnership with all that and signed her. And, you know, I mean, she's done really well for the label. Yeah. You know, I don't know that it was someone I would have signed myself.
Yeah.
Just because I was trying to find artists that were different. I wasn't trying to sign the next Carrie Underwood. I wanted, you know, really eclectic. I wanted to find really great singer-songwriters who would push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
We were a little ahead of our time. Yeah. And I wasn't really able to see a lot of that into fruition. But, you know, it was a mutual decision. I'm glad I got out from underneath it because I realized at the time that I wasn't a politician. I couldn't play that game.
Yeah.
Too blunt.
Yeah.
And, I was just about the music.
Yeah.
And so now I get to do what I love to do at the label,
Yeah.
which was make music and produce and develop, but I don't have to deal with the politics.
So you're still involved with it?
Not at all. No, we left Black Room
Okay.
in 2010, and I was still touring with Faith at the time.
Okay.
So it was good because I was still gone. We did Australia with Faith and Tim, I think in 2011 or 12 or something like that.
Okay.
And after that, I left Faith and Tim and got back into the session world, started writing more, and which is what
Let's talk a little bit about songwriting.
Yeah.
So that
That's why I moved to town, was to be a songwriter.
yeah.
I didn't come to town to be a session guy. I stumbled into that. But unfortunately, because the session thing got so crazy, my writing had to take a back seat,
Yeah.
And when the Magulas moved us here, it was because of my writing. It was the stuff that I was writing. So now I'm back to writing, and I think I'm writing the best stuff I've ever written.
Mhm.
And most of it is custom for some of the artists I'm working with. A guy named Ray Vega, who's incredible. I was writing with a guy named Robbie Johnson with Frank Myers. We cut an album on him, and the first single off of his record had 5 million hits. No, 3 million hits of YouTube hits in 3 months. He had so many hits, Rod, that Letterman called him and had him on his show. We went on the Letterman show. He never even had a record deal. He had no record deal. He had no airplay. He had no single on the charts. He had no management. But because the song had 3 million views on YouTube,
Yeah.
It was like they thought this thing's becoming an overnight sensation. We want to book him first. So the next thing I know,
Is that the picture of you and Paul?
with me and Paul Schaefer, yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. Matter of fact, Paul called me up the week they booked the date, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "It's Paul." I said, "Hey, man, what's going on?" He goes, "Hey, who are you bringing for a band? Because you guys always bring national players." I said, "I don't know. I hadn't decided why." He's like, "Dude, I was talking with the guys, man. We'd really like to play." I'm like, "Dude, are you
Of course.
kidding?" Of course. I said, "Really?" He goes, "Dude, first of all, we love the song. And second of all, he goes, we love country music. All the guys love country. He goes, we'd love to just be the band." I said, "Dude, are you kidding?" Done. He goes, "Really?" I said, "Dude, done. Absolutely." I said, "Frank and I will sit in with you. But yeah, man, you guys play." He was so excited. You have no idea. They rocked it, man. You can see it on YouTube. I mean, it's called South of Me. And I'll tell you, the band, those guys, Anton and Willie,
Yeah.
they're all monster players.
Oh, they're all heroes of mine. All of them.
They're fantastic. The chick guitar player,
Willie, Anton Fig. Yep.
they're all monsters, and we still stay in touch. They just had so much fun. But are you kidding? For us, it was an honor because they're such a legendary bunch of pickers. And Paul, are you kidding?
Yeah.
So yeah, but again, relationships, man. It's all about relationships and creating opportunities. And we did that, and we developed. And let me tell you, man, Robbie was a kind of a nobody. Never even really sang in concert. Robbie's doing mega concerts. He's from Canada. He's French Canadian. He's doing mega concerts, 5,000-10,000 seats by himself now, just from that one thing, So, look, you just never know, man.
Yeah.
Where the next thing's coming from. You just got to go out there, believe in what you're doing, believe in the music. I call it the field of dreams. Build it,
they will come.
Amen, brother.
We're on the same.
Build it, and they will come.
Yeah. We're on the same boat. We're on the same wavelength. We're vibing the same way.
That's exactly what it is. Well, music is so much about that, man. It's so subjective. Some people loved Queen and some people just never got it. Yeah. I was never a big Zeppelin fan, and people love Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I
like a lot of it. I'm one of the either you're a Beatles fan or you're from Beatles camp or you're from the Stones camp.
Absolutely. I'm a Beatles guy,
I'm both. I'm one of those rare.
You are a rare breed, my friend.
For two different reasons. I like Beatles for one reason, Stones for the other reason.
But I love the Beatles because they were just so melodic, It's so
they changed everything. They taught us to do what we do.
They changed everything, man. I mean,
People don't understand that. It doesn't matter if you like the Beatles or not. Still, their impact, what they did.
Every time we go to
do.
the studio, someone's going to say, "Hey, man, let's do kind of a John Lennon thing on this, or let's do a kind of a day tripper kind of vibe." They're still 70 years later quoting like Beatle lines that you want to simulate. They were so inventive and so creative, and they just didn't give a shit. They just went in there and made their kind of music.
Every album was progress.
Yeah.
Every album was innovation.
Great way to say it. 100% right, man.
Yep. So we want to thank Mike Geezy for booking us.
Brother. I hope you guys come down. You need to bring.
Yeah, we will come down. That's not even that is not even a. I'm manifesting this. It'll happen. There's no if.
You need to do it. I'll show you a great time. We'll get to the studios and show you what we do, and let you check out my place. And but mostly just to kind of check out the music scene. It's so infectious down here. It's a bit of a it's different. They're tearing down a lot of the old classic buildings and putting up apartments and condos.
Yeah.
Still, some of it's here, and I pray to God we don't lose it all, because man, so many great memories of so many great houses, these little buildings where all these records were made. It's going to blow your mind when you come down here.
They should put it in some sort of historic.
They're trying.
Yeah.
RCA Studio A and Studio B, they wanted to lock that thing down, and people were going to tear it down and put condos. Unfortunately, they stopped. The studio that we bought when we started Black River was Roddy Millsap's old studio, and it still had Roddy's old 9-foot Yamaha, one of the only 9-foot Yamaha grand pianos in town. And that piece of furniture is a classic. That thing to me is priceless. God forbid someone ever get rid of that thing, So these are classic rooms with classic vibes and classic stories. The stories, dude, we can tell are just unbelievable. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome, man. This was fun. You did a great job. Appreciate it very much. And listen, man, we'll do it again, but anybody that wants to stay up with me, just come to Jimmy Nichols Live, go to my webpage, and we'll talk. Just send them my way.
Yep, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
Come down.
All righty. See you, Jimmy.
All right. God bless. Take care.
God bless you.
Bye.